you're upsetting us, because what's the point? Why should you why should you destroy someone else's work? Just focus on your thing, but I guess maybe they felt like I was competition.
What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Benas, aka B Money, aka Mr. 50K. This is the 50K podcast. Joining me on the show this week is media personality and lead actress on Zambia's first telenovela, Zuba, Mwaka Mugala. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, you've actually been in the game like practically your whole life, from childhood till now. That's ZNBC gigs, 5FM, Diamond TV, Zambezi Magic, and being a standalone brand as Mwaka Mugala. How do you think you've fared so far?
I think that's a question best asked to people on the outside looking in. But I think I'm my worst critic, so I always think I can do better. But so far, so good.
Yeah,
I honestly think I could have done more.
No, I don't think you should be hard on yourself. I think you've done like pretty well for yourself, and being your face at the time of Zambezi Magic is not something that's easy to carry, like the whole brand on your back. Like what was that responsibility like?
It was a lot. I mean, like you said, it's not something that's small, first of all, and I think in the beginning I didn't realize how much responsibility I would have until time went on. But a lot of people only look at it from a surface level, whereas it's a lot more than that. You're not only looking out for people on the outside looking in, you're also looking out for your teammates, your classmates, the crew, and everybody. I basically had to not only carry the show, but be a voice for different people. Yeah.
Exactly. Because when we were growing up, I was going to say Zambian shows were not a thing, but I've just remembered like Kabanana was flagship.
Yeah, that was like the first biggest show we had.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. I was going to give an example of how we all used to watch Passions, and then on TV2 there were these soapies from the Philippines, South America. But then with you guys, like it became cool. Like even people from the suburbs that had DSTV were now like watching your show. Yeah. So how did that make you feel that you were like leading that new wave of Zambian film being recognized?
Well, it took a while for me to realize just how big it was. But when I did realize it, it felt good. There was a bit of pressure as well, but it was a good thing, because for me, I was looking at the bigger picture and I was thinking, okay, if this is the direction in which we're taking, then we definitely have so much more potential to put out even bigger shows. Yeah, so I think it was just a way in which we paved the direction for the Zambian film industry without obviously taking away from the previous shows.
The ones before.
Yes.
Yeah, no, the ones before were definitely dope. So at least there's light at the end of the tunnel, clearly. Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of Zuba, the show came to an end after 8 seasons. What was the experience like for you? The key takeaways. What did you like the most about being on the show?
What I liked the most about it was every day was a different experience, and for me, that's always an opportunity to grow, to learn. I interacted with so many people I also watched on TV growing up. I got to share the screen with them. For me, that was a great opportunity. It allowed me to travel, to work on different sets as well, to have different experiences. And like you said, it's big. So, a lot of people will look up to it and think, yeah, this is the direction that we're taking in terms of Zambian film. So that also, I suppose, opened up a world of film for me, because when I got on it, I didn't even think it would last very long. But then I realized that there's actually a whole world to film that I never even thought I would experience. And so for me, it's been a beautiful learning experience. Obviously, there were a lot of things here and there, but for me, I always took the positive out of it, and it's helped me grow, not just as an actress but as a person as well. I was very shy, like, but it got me out of my shell, which I appreciated, because that then opened up even more doors for me to express myself as a creative.
Okay. Speaking of expressing yourself as a creative and being shy, how have you like navigated your introverted nature, and then with the attention that comes with it, like how do you handle the attention that comes with it? Because obviously, like, you can't just walk freely in public at City Market, East Park. So how do you handle that?
It hasn't been easy, I won't lie. It took a lot of growth for me, because in the beginning I would, I guess, run away. But even the first time I realized that my life wouldn't be the same, luckily I had my friends around to just help me. But over the years, I've learned to just separate the brand from the person, and that's what has helped. And that's one thing that was even mentioned recently at a creative summit I attended. You have to learn to separate the brand from the person. The person is introverted, the person is shy. When you meet me in public and maybe it's a bad day, I might not always be accommodating, and I've heard a lot of people complain about this. But on the other hand, if I'm showing up as the brand, I cannot afford to be, shy or to be a douche or whatever. So that distinction has really helped me a lot.
Yeah. That's actually accurate. Funnily, just this morning, I was watching John Cena on The Breakfast Club, and they were saying, like, for you, you're John Cena, like, you can't separate yourself from the brand. So, like, how do you, like how do you handle, like, the whole thing? But in your case, I guess, whenever you're going to, maybe like an event, I guess you just have to, like, prepare to say, I'll meet people or whatever.
Of course, yeah.
Because the problem is, you refuse to take a selfie, then you know how Zambian Facebook is, like, she refused to, and then it becomes like a whole chain reaction.
Yeah.
That's the problem. But I guess, you're handling it okay now.
Well, yeah.
I can relate.
I do my best.
I grew up a very shy and quiet person. To some extent, I still think I am. But what helped me was the different sales jobs that I've been doing. So, like, I sucked as a salesman.
Yeah, I'm wondering how that, if you're a shy person, you end up in sales. Like, how did that?
I didn't have an option. So I was in TV for a while, Z Top 10. Then my contract wasn't renewed. So I got annoyed. I was like, I'm done with Zambia. I'm leaving. I'm going to South Africa. So when I went there, that was the only opportunity that was there at the time for me to make money.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So ironically, like, when the cameras are rolling, like, yes, like, this is me, but then immediately, like, it just, like, shuts down. So it's a nice story. But anyway, I'm still in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you are a second generation superstar. Daughter of the Alec Mugala, ZNBC veteran. Anyone that's above the age of 35 in Zambia definitely knows who he is. What was it like growing up as a child of, like, a famous person?
It was interesting for sure. Sometimes annoying, because, say, for example, we're just doing errands, grocery shopping, and at the time I didn't really realize it, but I always wondered why everyone's stopping my dad. I'm like, dude, we're just here to get ice cream. And they would always want to have long conversations with him. I think for them that would be an opportunity to either sell themselves or tell him how he's inspired them. So, it was interesting for sure in that way. And so I would understand why sometimes he was always in a hurry. And I've adopted that subconsciously, because when I'm doing my grocery shopping, before I would take my time, I'm looking at the prices, I'm like, why is this one 50 kwacha more than this one? Why is this? But now it's just like, yeah. So yeah, it was interesting in that way. And it worked out in so many ways, I guess. But the word I would use is interesting. I'm starting to digress. Like my mind now is just like, because now you're taking me back and I'm having these nostalgic moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just say it was interesting for sure.
I know that's good.
And in the home, he was a normal dad. I don't know what normal is because normal is objective, subjective rather. But like for me, he was just a normal dad. You know, have you done your homework? Yeah. You know, why didn't you do this? What about eat your vegetables? That kind of thing. But out there, especially even when he took me to work with him, then I'd see that okay, this is a completely different world than what we know. And I appreciate that he tried to incorporate that to make us understand. But again, to us, he was dad. So even at school, oh my gosh, that was another annoying thing at school, right? Imagine your friends crushing on your dad.
Oh, good.
It was so weird. It's like, bruh, this is my dad, though, you know? So, yeah, that for me was always annoying. So,
that's inevitable. That's strange. For me, I would only say like my mom, but like I have like an aunt who's got like this fancy UK accent, and then people like hitting on her. Actually, even with my mom, when I would visit her at her workplace, and then you have these office assistants like flirting with her, like, "Hey, sweetie," and
and you're just there like,
yeah. Speaking of in other interviews, and I've also read you used to do voiceovers at ZNBC. What was that like? How was that experience?
It was great for me. Like, again, because I grew up watching my dad do these things, for me it was normal. So even with having to do voiceovers or camera work and everything else I did, because of the experience I had with him, it was normal to me. I didn't have to. Of course, I did go to school, but by the time I was getting into it, I already had a bit of experience. I already knew what intonation was, you know, voice projection, blah, 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 headroom, lighting, because he had taught me all those things. So even with voiceover work, because I would see him, I knew that, okay, if I needed to do a voiceover, I needed to avoid certain foods, certain drinks. I needed to do things differently depending on the voiceover. If it's a happy voiceover, your voice is different. If it's sad, if it's serious, you know, all those things. So yeah, I don't want to say it was normal for me. Yeah.
No, that's good actually. Speaking of school, I read that you were at St. Mary's, yes? Yeah. How does it make you feel that even to this day, like when the stats are released, say like grade 9, grade 12, I think, was it last year or the other year, the highest at grade 9 was from St. Mary's. Yeah, like what's your reaction to the status of the school still being prestigious, I guess?
I feel pride, honestly. From what I know, even when I was there, they would always tell us that a lot of prestigious people, I would say, were produced from St. Mary's, you know, and, you know, the likes of Salma, the likes of Maureen Ilanda, all of them passed through St. Mary's. And so for me, it just makes me feel pride and, you know, because I know that as much as we hated it, they were strict. You know, there's so many rules, but I see what they were doing. And especially the fact that it's also, you know, the girl child, everyone's trying to promote the education of the girl child, trying to end child marriages. So for me, that just makes me feel a sense of pride because as much as it's something we still have to continue pushing, but we're definitely headed in the right direction. So definitely proud. And I will not stop. I will never hide that I was from St. Mary's because, yeah, it's a prestigious school.
No, it is actually. It is actually. I was at Maturo Boys myself. So I had been, you know,
but Matara has also produced its own batch of people in a good way.
No, like it's in a notorious area, but the school itself is like we're in our own world, in our own bubble. Like there's so many like bougie people, nerdy people, but then the moment you walk out the gate, it's
builds character.
It does, and it also helps like with being street smart as well.
Yes.
Yeah, like the whole.
I always say, like, you know, education is very important, but being street smart also helps. You know, like if you're someone who was always focused on the books and then you go out there in the real world and you find that the reality is different, it might be a bit of a shock to the system. So I think it's important to have both.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It is. You have to be, especially like when it comes to like leveraging deals, business. Because if you just go with the theory, oftentimes you're going to be screwed over.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I actually came once. I was in Youth Alive. I was, I think, in '08.
Oh man. That's when I graduated. What grade were you in? Not trying to snitch on our ages here, but like.
No, I don't mind. I was in grade 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was impressed. I could tell that it was like confined, but it was like there was discipline.
Yeah.
Very neat, very clean. Yeah. It was actually like a dope place. Yeah. And then after high school, you went to the highest learning institution in Zambia. That's
Yeah.
the University of Zambia, Mass Communications. What was that like? What did you learn from the degree that you're applying now?
I learned a lot. And I'm just thankful that I got to use some of that knowledge in most of my experience when it comes to my career. Because I know a lot of people who maybe studied economics and then ended up doing cosmetology after, or, like not everyone got to use what they learned in school. So for me, I'm just glad that I got to use that. So yeah, it was a great experience. It was fun. It was a lot of work because, MassComm is a very practical subject, so you can't really focus too much on theory, and so for us it was mostly practical work, very hands-on, and I love that about it. Yeah,
I remember because I was at Unza as well, but later than you, of course.
Yeah.
So the MassComm students would come like, yo, we're doing this project and everything, want to film, ask questions, and I was like, I think that's pretty dope. Yeah, so I'm in media now, and I also wanted to do MassComm, but
you ended up
I was discouraged by by the people at home.
Oh, okay.
And I was watching your dad on Chimulemba's podcast, Podhouse. So he was saying your mom was shocked that you chose MassComm. How did you manage to convince them in your face, unlike me?
It wasn't really, well, I guess I had to do more convincing towards my mom. Initially, I wanted to study journalism. Because I wanted to be a reporter. But then Dad said, I think you'd be better off doing mass communication because it's a wider scope. So if one thing doesn't work out, then you can always fall back on something else, which I appreciated because, truly I got to experience many other things, public relations, marketing, advertising, as opposed to just focusing on the broadcast side of things. And also because I was a bit conflicted, I wanted to do print media as well. But you can only choose either broadcast or print. So I chose broadcast, but I was still contributing to the print side of things. I was a contributor at the Lusaka Star as well. And I did work with Unza Radio. And it's not just because I was a student there, but for me, it was just the genuine passion. So I was a bit overwhelmed because I was stretching myself thin doing all these things. But I'm just glad I did that instead of just journalism, because then I probably would have been limited, and then I would have been forced to continue studying these things that I would have then gotten as a bunch, when I was doing mass communication. So yeah, I'm glad that he advised me. It was fun. I had fun at school, but I was such a nerd, so I guess it was mostly doing schoolwork then.
Schoolwork.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to ask, I was curious, like, the type of student you were at Unza, where everybody Z. All that
Funny
Unza
thing.
nonsense.
Funny thing. I think this was third year, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's when I sort of decided to come out of my shell a bit more. So it was second year actually. So second year, because first year, everyone, like my parents were worried about me clearing and stuff. So I didn't do a lot of extracurricular activities in first year. Second year is when I started, like I did so many things, Lusaka Star, Unza Radio. We were supposed to wait until third year for that, but I guess I rushed it because I was very interested in doing that. So I was doing the breakfast show on Unza Radio. I was doing the entertainment section, the column on the Soccer Star. I decided to take part in Miss Unza.
Oh.
Yeah, I got, what did I get? Miss Personality or something. No, second princess.
Ah,
I know.
nice.
But then it was at that point that I realized like pageants are not for me. It was just the competition was toxic, and I don't like to compete with my fellow women. We should be building each other up and not competing. So for that I was like, yeah, I'm done with this. What else? Yeah, Unzasu. I couldn't do that in the first semester, but second, I guess because I was more active, so I tried to run for committee member. And that was the only time I had to do that whole
Oh, wait, you actually contested?
I did, and it was the hardest thing because, again, being an introvert, imagine you have to, especially with the campaign night, we have to give the speech. I was shaking. I was just like freaking out. And then, once the students are not nice, like they will boo you off the stage. So I tried the first time. I'm like, what did I say? I can't even remember what I said. That was so long ago. But I was like, let's just say Viva Data or something, right? Yeah. So I'm like, Viva Data. Everyone was like, Viva. I do it the second time. And then they were like, So I'm just like, traitors. So now, because some of the campaigners were using vernacular and I wasn't because of my shyness, when I speak vernacular, it sounds like I don't know what I'm saying. So that got in the way. I guess maybe they didn't like that I spoke English to them. I don't know. Yeah. But apparently I was very close.
For real? Oh,
yeah, like by 5 votes. I was off by 5 votes. So I could have gotten it, but then at the same time, it was kind of a relief that I didn't, because at the time, I was doing it for the wrong reasons. Yeah, like I know I would have put in the work because I do work hard, but at the same time, the motivation wasn't as strong because it was mostly people telling me, you do it, not that internal conviction. So yeah.
I actually ran as well for committee member.
How did that go?
In my case, I lost badly.
Were you not campaigning enough, or?
I would say similar reasons. Yeah. I wasn't like knocking on people's rooms and everything.
I did that. I was giving people flyers. At some point, I put my posters all over the school. And then the next day, I found that they were defaced. Like some of my competition had.
Oh yeah, that's what they do.
So now we got so pissed because I'm using my bursaries, right? I'm using my BC money. I'm like, guys, I had to go to the printing shop and spend money on this. So I was so pissed. So now we did another print, like another batch of flyers, and then we were sticking them. I think this was at like 23, right? So I'm sticking them all over, and then my friends, not me. They were the ones defacing other people, because then it was like, okay, now you're upsetting us, because what's the point? Why should you why should you destroy someone else's work? Just focus on your thing, but I guess maybe they felt like I was competition. I didn't think I was, but it was a fun experience.
Wow.
But it was a lot. It drained me. Like if it wasn't for my friends, I probably wouldn't have done as well. And that's why I'm just appreciative to always have a strong support system, because they were the ones helping me knock on the doors with my introverted self. And they were like, yeah, we have the,
candidates.
The only bad experience with that was when we went to Monk Square. One of the guys, I think maybe they were drinking. So they were like, no, bring her in, let her talk. And I'm just there now surrounded by these guys. And I'm like, so as committee member, I'm like, I don't even know what you want me to say. But I knew they were just mocking me, and it was just horrible. I wanted to shrink.
That's the problem with that platform. Like it's more for like the mass market guys, like us who are like from the suburbs, don't really do well. So I don't know if you've been following like this governor guy on TikTok. like in my era, somebody like that wouldn't win because this light skinned, good looking guy, and like macho and everything. Like back then, like they would be like, no, he's too, he's not street enough.
Exactly. People like someone they can relate to.
That's actually good relatability. I'll just take you back to the beauty pageant, the Miss Unza thing. So John Oliver, actually, I'm a big fan of John Oliver. He has a bit on beauty pageants. He's against them because they are like sexist, and I agree. I'm not against like modeling completely, like maybe like doing like the runway thing where like, what do you call it, advertising, clothing, that one is okay, but then where you're competing, for me, I feel like it's retrogressive. It's not.
I did fashion runway after, but even then, it's not as overt. But even then, there's a lot of toxicity that happens, a competition, and sometimes even with certain fashion designers, they would prefer to work with specific models, and then I don't know. I just felt there was internal competitions happening. But when it comes to pageants, I don't believe everything is completely bad and everything is completely good. So, like you said, there are just certain things about pageants that make that over-sexualize women, especially with certain categories where you have to expose your body and stuff. And out there, it's okay, it's acceptable, it's a category, and I'm not completely bashing it. But at the same time, if I could just focus more on the social aspect of it, which I appreciate. There's some categories where, they ask, like, if you were to win this, how would you help the communities, blah, 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 blah. And everyone, even when you go for a job interview, you will lie, I work well under pressure, blah, blah. But when you get the job, a lot of people don't meet those obligations. And that's the thing. It's like, if you commit to something, go all the way through. A lot of, I won't say a lot of the pageants, but I mean, some of the contestants just want the crown. They just want the fame. They just want what it comes with without actually giving into the responsibility. And I know that a lot of organizers want to beat that stereotype. It's like, you can be beautiful and you can have the brains. So I just think maybe there needs to be a bit of a stricter veto process, because imagine you've passed through, you've made it to the top, and then they ask you this question and you can't even answer it. It's very embarrassing. So I just feel like maybe participants just need to do their due diligence, research more, read more, and actually put in the work once you get the crown. When you go to do charity work, don't just do it for the pictures, actually do the work. Yeah.
I actually forgot about the charity part. That one is actually good. Because people just see, okay, the apartment in New York after I win. But then, you actually become like a brand ambassador for your country. And then, like, you put your country.
And in other places, they do take it seriously. If you don't meet those obligations, they will strip you off your crown, and then it'll go to the runner-up. It's deep.
Okay, that's an interesting career. I've tried to be a model myself, but then the few websites I went to, like, you have to be 6 foot tall and I'm like 5'7", so I gave up.
Well, I mean, I've the fact that I got to do runway, I'm not exactly a tall person. Even when people meet me in person, they're like, I thought you're taller. Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah. But I know that there are a lot of shows, especially now with how open a lot of people are becoming. There are a lot of shows that are inclusive, so they'll do plus size, tall, short, light skin, dark skin, so you never know. If you still want to try, there's hope. There is hope.
Thank you. I'll go back to the searches that are playing. So still on entertainment, you were on radio as well. 5FM, adult contemporary station. How did that go? How did you fit in there?
It was interesting for sure. A lot of people would ask me, like, how did you end up there? I'm like, look, I just graduated uni. I'm not getting work. What are you gonna do? But funny thing is, I actually enjoyed it again. thanks to my dad because of his music, his taste in music. A lot of the songs I even played on radio I actually had to get from him. Ish, guys, I remember that day. It was, late in the night, my brother being in IT, dad having the music. We literally had to get CD by CD, burn it from my brother's laptop, put it onto a flash so I could play it on radio. I hope that's not illegal. End up snitching on yourself. But yeah, because there were some songs that were not available at the station, and only dad had them because he had the original CDs. So people were like, where did you get this music? A lot of people would be like, I want the music you play. Can you put it on flash for me? I'm like, no, you have to listen to the show. I'm sorry. I'm not giving copies. But I enjoyed it quite a bit. And it was also, I guess, because of the environment they had, they were dealing with a lot of corporates and things like that. So I ended up using that as a way to network. I had a lot of opportunities to network with big corporate brands. Yeah, so for me, I actually did have fun. But yes, I did face a little bit of backlash because some of the, I'd say, staff there thought I was too young. And so when I would try to bring in these fresh ideas, it's like, you're getting too big for your boots, Miss Ma'am. Just stay in your lane. So yeah, it's one of, I actually stayed there quite longer than I expected. I didn't think I'd last long because of the high pressure environment, but I ended up staying quite long there, despite the shifts. I had the morning shift and the night shift, and I'm not a morning person. So, but it was fun for me.
I'm also not the morning. What? I'm also not the morning person. That's why we shoot in the afternoon here.
Yeah, like if you're gonna get me out of bed on a Sunday morning to do something like this, I would disappoint you. I mean, because even at church, like I'm in the choir, right? And the service is at 10, but for us usually we meet at 9 for like a the final rehearsal before we sing, and that means because I stay quite far, so that means I have to wake up extra early so that I get ready and then show up on time. So yeah, I don't like mornings for that reason, because that means I'll have to eat into my sleeping time to get ready on time. Yeah.
What music were you playing on radio? Like which artists?
I was playing slows and R&B, so the likes of Tevin Campbell, Tony Braxton, Boyz II Men, those people, Westlife, yada yada yada. That was like mostly on the Wednesdays, in the evening. I remember I had 3 shifts. I can't remember what the other one was, but yeah, Wednesday I had 2 night shifts, and then the Sunday morning. Now for Sunday, I used to do 10 to 1 p.m., 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. But then I had to take over from someone who, I think she wasn't well for a while. So then I had to start doing 6. So 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. And during that time, it was gospel. Yeah. But yeah, I was playing oldies as well, like Aretha Franklin, that kind of thing. I love oldies. Like I enjoy it. So even for me, it was like, yeah, it was lovely to play, except when you have a heartbreak and you're playing love songs. That wasn't very fun.
Yeah, like, no, I can relate.
Yeah. You're trying not to cry. The music's playing there, you're crying, and then you get back on radio. Like, and that was blah 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 blah. Enjoy. Go back to crying. Yeah.
Is radio something you would still do?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, I would do it. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure the radio producers are grinning, and you'll be getting some emails very soon. Yeah. So away from radio, before Zambezi Magic, you were actually on Diamond TV. Yeah. Diamond TV has become like a leading channel now with superstars like your former work husband, Jonah.
We're still together. I don't care what people say, we're still together.
Who went on to win the BBC award. Got kids as well, like Tapiwa, who are killing it. Yeah, so how does it make you feel seeing like Diamond TV grow from where it was when you were there and how it is now?
I'm very happy because when we had just started out, Mr. Mansa had a vision, and I'm actually seeing that vision come to life. So for me, it just makes me happy. the fact that they just wanted to break away from the usual. So for me, I just feel very happy. The shows are different, the picture, the sound, everything is just, they're stepping out of the box. And I think that is what we should be moving towards, you know. So now it's almost like it gave this sort of blueprint, and now we see a few other stations trying to follow in that direction, doing it in their own way, but just trying to do things differently. Because I mean, even at school, they taught us a certain style of reading news, of doing things in the broadcast world. And then I go to Diamond and they're like, yeah, no, forget all of that. We're trying to do it differently. And so to see that still being realized for me makes me feel very, very proud and happy to see that.
That's nice. So you're doing shows there, you're doing the news as well?
Yes, I was doing the news. I was producing and presenting. Again, I ended up on the breakfast show because at first I was doing the midday show, and then I suppose because I was doing the news, they thought, okay, maybe you would be better suited to something a little more serious, more corporate. And so the breakfast show was mostly known for that. So they moved me to the breakfast show. I wasn't happy because I had to wake up early, but eventually I adjusted. Yeah.
You had to wake up at 4 a.m. every
4
single
a.m.,
day.
pick me up at 5, get to the set by 5:30 so that I can prepare and go through the news, and yeah.
And then while at Diamond, auditions come up for Zuba. How did you know that the auditions were going on?
So I actually was preparing for a show, for the midday show, and I had called Becky Ngoma, and I wanted to speak to her about, you know, the space of women in film. You know, what is it like? How's it going? Is it challenging? But she said, and I only understood that later, but at that point I was a little disappointed, but I was just like, you know what, there's nothing I can do, because I did call her kind of at the last minute, and so I understood. So this was about maybe 1 p.m. I'm calling her, I'm like, I'd like to interview you for a show tomorrow, and would like you here at 11 or 12, whatever time you can make it. And she's like, I don't do interviews last minute. So I'm like, oh my gosh. But she's like, oh, actually, we're having auditions tomorrow. She gave me the concept of the show, and she explained it's a telenovela, and I did not like telenovelas, you know, because my mom used to watch them a lot. So, you know, I'm watching it and I'm just like, why is it taking them so long to just open the door? So, you know, I had this, I guess, negative perception about telenovelas. And so I'm like, first of all, you want to do that in Zambia. People are not going to be very forgiving. But she mentored me in script writing and acting. And so I didn't want to disappoint her. I didn't want her to think I'm just sitting on the training that I got. So I said, okay, what time is it? And she mentioned that it was, they would be done at 12. I was like, unfortunately, I'm only done with work at 1, so I cannot show up. And she's like, we'll wait for you. That just like made my heart sink, because then I felt so bad. Like, these people are willing to wait for me. There must be something there. So I decided to show up. I remember I even delayed a little, you know, because I had to get on a bus. So yeah, ended up going there, auditioned. I didn't even put in my all because I didn't want to be disappointed. I auditioned for Fever once, I didn't get the role. So I thought, if I don't get the role this time, then I'll just give up on acting altogether. So I didn't even put in everything because I didn't expect to be called back. And then I think either later that day or the next day, she called and said, oh, Channel actually likes your audition, but we want to call you back for a second audition. I think I had to audition another 2 times after that. And the final audition, they made me cry. And I don't like crying in public. Like, I'd like to think of myself as this strong person, you know, always bubbly, always happy. We fight at home on our own. So they gave me the scene where I had to cry. I struggled. And so she's like, okay, let me give you a scenario. Let's flip the script. Let's imagine it's this and this and that. And I remembered I had to improvise as a result. And when she got me there, I remember I didn't even stop crying after they cut the camera. I had to go into the bathroom from there, just like, yeah. And then they were like, yeah, this is it. we're taking you. So for me, I didn't realize how just how big that was, but I don't know. I guess I can just call it maybe God's grace, to be honest, because what are the odds? I'm calling this woman to come to my show, and she's like, no, you come for an audition. And I didn't want to go, but she was like, you have to come. I'm like, I don't want to be disappointed. She's like, bruh, just show up. And I showed up, and here we are today. Yeah.
That's an interesting story. I had never known how you got the role.
Yeah, most people don't. A lot of people thought it was overnight success, but people don't know. I've literally been putting in the work since I was born. I'm not even lying. Dad, I don't know, maybe he was just chaffing me. You know how fathers can be sometimes. But apparently the day I was born, there was a crew, ZNBC at the hospital. They were filming something, and then they were like, oh, your baby is cute. Can we film her? And when they filmed me, I was just bubbly and happy and stuff. And he said, yeah, this one's going to be a star. And I'm like, cool. I guess I barely had my eyes open and I was on camera.
You need to get that footage. You have it, right? You have to. For your Netflix documentary.
Right? No, I'll ask him to just go and be like, yo, my guy, give us the footage. We need it. I need to see how I looked as a baby.
No, I'm sure now they know, because if you've noticed, I've deliberately started from the beginning till now, where you've gone, because obviously when did Zuba start? 2018? Yeah. So I remember because I was on the channel before, and then you guys came in after. Actually,
I remember I was co-hosting that show when you won the, what do you call it? The
Z Top 10.
No, the competition.
Remember the Z Top 10 presenter
yes.
in Cafe Road.
Yes.
Oh, you were there?
I was co-hosting with Abel, but I was backstage.
Oh.
Yeah, so he was in the front and I was backstage. I remember my parents were even there, and then, yeah.
For real? Wow. I didn't know. I was overwhelmed. I was just focusing on, am I going to win? Am I going to win?
Yeah, I remember we were even talking. We were like, yeah, he seems more. And there was the other girl. What was it? Taonga.
Yes.
Yeah, we were like, it's between the two, but I think him.
Wow. That's I didn't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I'm happy you guys after the rebrand took over. You became the face of the channel. After me, of course. With the billboards plastered everywhere all around Lusaka. Yeah, it was good. So still in the industry, let's talk about the pay scales and the pay grades. Are you happy with the pay in Zambian film, or there's room for improvement?
There's room for improvement, but it's not bad, because people are able to take care of their families, to do their own side businesses, sponsor their own side hustles. So it's better than before, to be honest. Back then, people had to put in money, and they wouldn't even get paid. You go to work, you haven't eaten the whole day, you have to put money together to get lunch, and that lunch is not even something. But now, you can even have transport provided, you have lunch provided, and you still get a salary at the end of the day. So yeah.
No, I think it's okay, because I work at a private school, and we have a number of parents who are just full-time entertainers. So I'm always wondering and doing the calculations to say, the fees are 5 figures, but
but they're managing. Yeah,
but they're managing.
It's definitely something. I'm not even going to sit here and lie and say no, it's good.
We're appealing to the stakeholders.
We're not appealing. Yeah, but I always believe in anything, really, there's always room for improvement. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So speaking of children and everything, I want to ask about relationships. Who are the type of guys that you go for? Do you go for industry people, or you'd rather be with an ordinary guy that works at ZRA, for example?
See, the thing is, there's two sides to that, right? On the one hand, it's nice to be with someone in the industry because they understand. So even with the long hours, if I was with an ordinary person who didn't understand and I'm getting home from work maybe 10, 11 p.m. past midnight, and they're like, yeah, we haven't eaten because you're supposed to be here cooking and blah, 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 blah. You know, it's tricky. But then on the other hand, the same industry people can be good and bad for you. So I'm not, I guess it just depends on the person, to be honest. You can't really generalize because people are different. So you will meet some good seeds in the industry, some bad seeds in the industry. You'll meet some good seeds out of the industry and bad ones and so on and so forth. So it really just depends on the person, their values, and yeah.
Yeah, and what is it like, say when you're out on a date, you go to see sinners at New Metro, and then people want to like hound you, and then say like your guy is just like mommy, or you're at a restaurant having fancy French meals, and then I come through and I want a selfie. How do you deal with that?
Again, two sides of the coin, and I've experienced both. There's some who will be accommodating. You know, maybe that day I'm not even in the mood, but then the guy will be like, yeah, no, let me even take the picture for you. I'm like, and then there are others who just, you know, even decide for you before you say something, like, no, come on, do you see what's happening, blah, 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 blah. So two sides to the coin. And that's why I think even most times when maybe I'm asked out for dinner, like for a date, I'm like, let's just pick a place where I know maybe there won't be much chiveleshi or something. Just not for my sake, because I can handle it, but just for, you know, their sake. Because even if they say they're fine with it, you just want to respect who they are as a person.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because the thing is, like, for you, you'll be able to handle, like, even say criticism. If like a photo is taken and it goes viral, you'll be like, yeah, this is lightweight, this is my everyday thing. But then for a normie, they get overwhelmed every 5 minutes. They're calling like, have you seen a new comment? Have you seen a new comment?
Yeah, precisely. So I don't want to be naive to that. I'm always considerate of the other person. So
yeah. Speaking of, I've just remembered, how do you deal with criticism? I'm a fan of Joe Rogan. He says he doesn't read like replies to his tweets. He doesn't check comments. Maybe you just have his guy Jamie just give him like a general overview of the analytics and how his podcast is doing. So like for you, how is it? Do you like camp in your comments and see what's happening, or like how do you?
So because I don't want to completely be a douchebag and not respond to fans, you know, because you need the fans, you know. So I just try to respond to as many as I can when I have the time. And then after that, if you respond 3 weeks late to a post I did a long time ago, chances of me responding are slim. I used to have my team respond on my behalf, but then it wasn't authentic because as much as they know me, they don't know how I'll type and whatever. So maybe they can't tell, but I would be able to tell them like, yeah, this doesn't sound like me. So on the one hand, it's a good thing to just have people take over and sort out everything for you so that I'm not stressed and I don't see the negative comments. But on the other, which is why when it's just fresh, I'll just respond to as many as I can and then move on. I rarely see negative comments just because I do stay away from social media, mostly because of my schedule and for my mental health as well. But also, if I do happen to come across a negative comment, back then it would bother me, of course, you know, I'm human, so it would bother me, and I would think to myself, I'm like, am I really, maybe I should, you know. But then as I've grown, especially in my spiritual journey, I've become stronger, because then I've come to realize that sometimes it's not even you that they're targeting. Some people just want attention. Other people are going through something, and then they see you post a happy picture, and you're like, in this economy, you're smiling. I'm going to attack you so that you feel it too. So, you know, it's all sorts of things. And so I don't take it personal anymore. Yeah, I don't take it personal.
Yeah, because I'm a big fan of Trevor Noah as well. And on one of his podcasts, he said, celebrity and poverty don't mix. That's why That's why here in Africa, we don't really have that celebrity culture, unlike in the West where people are doing fine. I know that there's issues now. I like to say the 90s was golden age when people were like doing fine economically. Stars like Will Smith, Tom Cruise thrived. There was time to celebrate people. But here in Africa, I don't have money to buy bread. I mean, why should I care about Mwaka Mugala? You know what I mean? So when you look at it from that angle, you can't really like blame people for being negative at times.
Yeah. Like I said, that's why I don't take it personal. Can be personal, it can't be personal. Either way, if you're going to thrive on that or let it affect you, you're not going to progress as a person. You know, so it's also just for your own sake. There's a saying that if you're going on a journey, you can't throw rocks at every dog that barks at you. Some of those barks are not even actual threats. It's just noise. So if you keep stopping to respond or react to every distraction, you're never going to get to your destination.
Definitely not. Speaking of destinations, Zuba, after 8 seasons, has come to an end. You're probably tired of answering this. What's next? But then there's so many layers because you have a YouTube channel, which I'm a subscriber of, by the way. that could continue. You get your degree in MassComm. You could get a master's, get into like the corporate space. You could do another TV show. You could do movies. So what's your plan? Which route are you taking?
There's so many options, and I think that's why I've deliberately just decided to take a step back. I'm a planner. I always like to plan ahead. But then that also sometimes can be a bit overwhelming because to go from something as big as Zuba, you're always thinking the next thing I have to do has to be bigger. And that can be an unnecessary pressure on oneself, you know. So I've just decided to take a step back and just think about things properly, because as opposed to just rushing into something and say, okay, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to keep the momentum going, I'll end up just shooting myself in the foot. So for now, I'm just taking a step back, resting, seeing what I should focus on, because that's another thing about being multi-talented, and I'm not tooting my own horn here. There's so many things that I can do that sometimes I won't even know what to focus on. So really, I'm just resting. I'm reading again. I haven't read a book in a long time. I enjoy reading. I'm doing the things that I didn't have a chance to do when I was doing the show. You know, I can take a walk now, take a drive, hang out with friends, you know, all those things, just to bring myself back to being human. Because once the noise is shut down, it's like, what next? So I just really want to ground myself. There's a word I'm looking for, it's gone. But just I would say re-strategize, but that's not the word I wanted. But yeah.
I get what you mean. I get what you mean. Yeah. So I think at your level, you don't have to be desperate and be in people's faces all the time. Because I feel when you reach a certain ceiling, even if you disappear for 2-3 years, the moment you get back, you're still going to be the same person. Your followers are still going to be there. You know what I mean? It's not like people like me who go quiet after 2 months. The next trending topic comes, get drowned, people forget about you, and then now you have to like come back and start pushing. So once the name is there, I think you don't have to stress much. Yeah. What?
If you say so.
What are you reading now, by the way?
Right now I'm reading, it's this book called It's Not Supposed to Be This Way. It's a Christian book. So it's one of those that opens you up to, if maybe you had a whole plan, or in fact it came at the perfect time, because, you know, like you say, the show has ended and you're thinking, okay, what next? So this is a book it helps you understand that life happens, things can change in an instant. What do you do in that moment? It's a Christian book, so, you know, there's even Bible verses and prayer points and things like that. Yeah, that's what I'm reading at the moment. But I love to read motivational books. I love to read fiction. The book I read before that was a romance. And it was kind of like a teen. It's a mature book, but then, it made me feel like a teenager again. I'm like, okay, that was fun. Let's not do that again. Yeah.
I liked the old teenage movies, the Cody Banks era. You remember?
Oh,
those
yes.
movies? Yeah, I love that. I don't see much of that these days. It makes me.
I think just maybe the times have changed, or maybe it's just our interest. We're definitely watching different things than what we were watching back then. Maybe the teens now are watching things like that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
What are you watching now, by the way? What are you watching on Netflix? Zambezi Magic.
I'm gonna be lying if I say that. No, but on Zambezi, I'm watching Inkondo, the new show.
Or the one with Luke.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So I've been watching that. Every now and then I will still watch Mbali. I watch local shows. Tenta Manga I've been watching as well. But mostly, again, ironically, I shouldn't even be saying this because people will be like, we see you. I used to love watching movies a lot. But now when you're on screen all the time, it's not as fun to watch movies anymore because then you're watching it with a different eye. When you're watching a movie or a TV series or whatever kind of show, really, you're thinking about, the lighting, the sound, the dialogue, this could have been delivered this way, that way. And it's not so fun. So that's why I would actually rather read, because then my imagination can come into play. Whereas when something is being fed to you on screen, now you start being critical and then you start seeming like a hater. And if you're watching with people and they're just there just shut up, forget it. It's rare, but I still every now and then enjoy watching. I'll go to the cinema whenever I can. So yeah.
What was the last movie you saw at the cinema? Mission Impossible?
No. I actually watched a horror. I think that was maybe 3 weeks ago. I watched it with a friend of mine and her brother. I can't remember what it's called. We were supposed to watch Sinners, but then she was like, we've been hearing that this movie is going to open up portals, and then so we ended up changing, but then the options, there were not so many options that day. And then ironically, we ended up watching another horror. It was kind of creepy because I used to love horrors, but I haven't watched horror in a long time. So that day I was just there it was creepy. What was it about? This group of people, this girl's sister had died in some town. She had disappeared, and so they were looking for her sister. They went there, a bunch of them, her friend, blah, 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 blah. And then they get into this place, and it was almost like a portal, because everywhere else it was dry. And then when they got into this place, it was raining. No, actually it was raining. And then they got in this place, it was dry. They get to the place. There were so many different things happening. And then the thing was, someone had to die every day for them to move forward. But each time that happened, it would reset to the last point. And then now they were all dying over and over and over in different ways. But they were remembering how they were dying. And they were just disintegrating. It's a lot. But when I saw that, I'm just like, what is this movie about? Because they were slowly turning into these creatures and stuff. So, yeah.
I haven't seen a horror in a while. I mostly used to watch the 80s horrors on DSTV. But the new ones, I haven't seen any. The Conjuring, The Nun.
You're lying.
For real. I'll try to get into that space.
Man.
I've been stuck in the Marvel wormhole.
Okay. Well, I guess, preference. But like I said, I used to be into horror, so I used to watch all those religiously. So my brother and I would even be like, this is coming, we have to watch it. And would always want to see it in the cinema. But now that I think about it, I'm like, why were we even doing that? Because you go home to sleep, and then that's playing at the back of your mind. And you wake up, you have sleep paralysis. You're just like, it's because of that movie. But we did it anyway. Yeah.
Okay. And then in film, who do you look up to? Who are your gods of acting?
Oh my gosh, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Viola Davis, Meryl Streep. I like their diversity, especially Viola, because she. I was watching The Help recently, actually, and I'm just like, she's one person who's able to switch. She can go from like this helpless woman, and then she'll switch and play Annalise in How to Get Away with Murder, you know. So that for me, I love because of her range. Also Tom Hardy, that man has range. And even, what's his name? I forget his name. He played Sirius Black in Harry Potter, and then Commissioner Gordon.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, he's also got range. Yeah. It's like, is this the same actor? You know, and that's one thing I aspire to be. It's just to shock people. Like, one minute you see this role, you see that role, and it's like, these are completely different people. It's one person saying playing the same things.
For real. Yeah, I miss Harry Potter, man. I always dreamed to be like in the movie.
Same. I was such a fan. So when I heard that it was coming to an end, I'm like, there goes my chance.
And I think from 5, I saw all of them like at Stekainko. That time I was still like in school, so like in your uniform, you go watch and everything. Then my brother would like buy the books as well, and then like you read.
The books. I loved reading the books before watching the movies. But the first one I saw at the cinema was Prisoner of Azkaban. And to go from Chamber of Secrets to Prisoner, that's when I was obsessed with Daniel Radcliffe. Like, I fell in love with him at that point. Because, you know, his voice broke, so he went from like a little boy to a man, you know, this teen. And I was also like a teen, so I'm just there like obsessed with him.
That was everyone. So for me, that was me and Emma Watson.
Of course. Yeah.
No, it was amazing. It was dope. Anyway, Mwaka Mugala.
I know we can end up going on and on, and I know we might as well just cut it and keep it for another day. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming to
Thank you for
the
having
show.
me.
Like I already mentioned, I'm proud of your success and everything that has happened. Like me being on the channel and then you guys coming after, like I wouldn't have like been happy. I was like somebody else like carrying the channel. I wish you success.
Thank you so much.
A new journey. Hopefully you also like cross borders even beyond Zambia, and who knows, maybe you join the likes of Halle Berry, winning an Oscar as a black woman.
Amen to that.
Alright. That's our show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've been your host, Benas, aka B Money, aka Mr. 50K. My guest has been Mwaka Mugala. We shoot from King Spirit Image Room. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for Games by Z Creator. Until next time, we out.
In this episode of Don't Drop the Ball, we have Mwaka and Benas. 3, 2, 1, go.
Damn. My couple names.
The losing streak
He just won for the first time.
In this episode of Pitbull, we have Mwaka and Creator. 3, 2, 1.
Oh. Is there anything to get?
Do I? Yes?
Yeah. Streak.
I gave you. gave that one to you.
Okay. Oh. Sorry.
I have a feeling they're more blue.
There are two. This is the last round. There are only two. Oh, boy. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hey, yeah. Whirl. Stupid. You want me down, you want me.
She has one left.
Huh?
She has one left.
Yes, you go. Damn.
You don't want to put it like
I was supposed to. At this point. The first shall be the last.
Congratulations.